Welcome to the Core Experience, your connection to community, business, and the people who make it all happen with your host, Brandon Suba.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another recording podcast of the Core Experience. Now, I talk about all the wonderful guests that we have. I even think I've quoted, I talk about all the wonderful guests that we have. But today is a bank-focused podcast. We like to bring in our nonprofits. We like to talk about all the good things we do at the bank. And we're going to talk about good things we do at the bank, but we're going to be a lot more bank-focused on this one. And it's a very popular topic going around in the banking world right now. It's Treasury services. Because as a lot of us know, we're in a unique interest rate environment. And when I say unique, I think 20 years ago, it probably wasn't as unique as it is now, but we had that really cool, super low interest rate one. And now that we're out of that, we're trying to be creative, right, to navigate at the banks, all the different interest rates. But we're going to talk about Treasury services today. And if you're a longtime listener to the podcast, you know I am relationship manager for the Treasury service. And every now and then I may talk about my director. And that is who we have with us today. Kyle, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Brandon. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, well, and you said don't throw anything weird at me. I'm going to. So Kyle's official title is he is Director of Deposit Services, and he does overlook the Treasury team. He runs the Treasury team. But something else you may not know about us. This is the only weird thing I'm going to throw out. You ready?
Okay.
We've actually known each other for a really long time. We had some mutual friends, and then we met, and then we've not vacation. I mean a wedding.
The relationship has blossomed in many different
ways.
So.
See, he's a lot better with words than I am. Maybe you should be hosting these exciting things. So anyways, so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to dig into some Treasury services and some unique things that we have to offer at Core Bank. So right out of the chute, if you are a business professional or if you know somebody in the business industry and they have any qualms, questions, or even want help with their banking, you can send them this podcast so they can see what we really have to offer at Core Bank. So with that, Kyle, tell us a little bit about your history of banking, because you've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun, to say the least. But yeah, I've been in banking for over 20 years now. Got my start out in college as a part-time teller. As one does, everybody has to have that badge of honor of being a teller at a bank, regardless of your profession or industry. But yeah, started out as a part-time teller. I've been with 3 separate financial institutions across my tenure, but joined Core Bank about 7 months ago. Most of my experience lies in the retail banking space. Worked my way up through the channels and had some opportunity to oversee operations and compliance, which isn't necessarily the hot button or the funnest thing in the world for most out there, but is an integral part of banking. And came over on to as the Director of Treasury Services again with Core Bank, and I've had an opportunity to grow our team and do a lot of different new creative things in the way that we service our clients and service our business customers.
And one cool thing is, so I was already over in the healthcare side when Kyle came over, but he really had a pretty open slate to fill in some positions, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so he was able to create his team. And I think this is important in banking, and I'm learning this is to be more important, is he brought on people that he had worked with for years, knows them very, very well, knows them personally. We're lucky that we have our friendship ahead of time, because he wasn't 100% got to choose me on the Treasury side when I went from healthcare to Treasury, but it's been a phenomenal fit, and I will echo that our team is just top notch, a truly top notch team, specifically in the Treasury. Core, everyone's great at Core, but the Treasury team, we're clicking. We are clicking.
Brandon, I will say this: blessings come in all shapes and sizes. So, yes, no, as much as you were inherited, you're definitely a blessing to our team. And I will say this, as far as where Treasury landed with Core Bank, maybe even a year ago, it doesn't exist how it does today. And we have a very diverse group of experienced professionals. You mentioned, I've got been able to leverage some of my personal and professional relationships to grow out our team, but we have 3 relationship managers in total within the Treasury group, and then we have 2 servicing specialists that really are the glue for our entire team. So yeah, whereas we're maybe new as far as our organization and structure, definitely not new in our priorities, our focuses, and how we take care of our clients.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of how we take care of those clients, let's dig into some fun Treasury services. You know, that's what everybody puts a podcast on is let's learn about some Treasury. Actually, in the transition, my favorite thing in the networking world, because I talk a lot about networking, is I do tell people, I'm like, well, I'm on Treasury now. And the most common question is, well, what is that? And my quick, easy answer is it's business banking. Right. If you're running a business, and not just to have somebody by your side helping you, but having your accounts work for you, having your banking work for you, the Treasury team is really what does that. And Core is even a little more unique where we are so hands-on. I think a lot of the time Treasury kind of sits in the back office of a bank, and you have a lot of other people that refer or use their services, where we are out there very much in front and interacting with our clients because we want that relationship. It's important.
Absolutely. I think you hit a couple points there. When you think of business banking, you often think about lending.
Yes.
That's usually the go-to when it comes to business banking. And Treasury it has this misnomer of this just this dragon to be slayed out there. And what is that? Who are you? What do you do? What does that actually mean? And long story short, and you've kind of hit on this, it's taking care of our business customers' deposits and making sure that their money is working for them, and that we are there to assist in any way possible to make sure that their money is moving for them, whether that's receiving money or paying out money. We have a plethora of products. You really want to get to the meat and potatoes of the Treasury department. Some common terminology that's thrown out there when you speak to Treasury would be your remote deposit capture. So, the ability for our business clients to, as opposed to sending your runners into the branch with a stack full of checks, you have the ability to process those checks right at your own desk, very similar to the way our tellers do in our branches. Our ACH functions, so the ability to collect funds or send out funds electronically and efficiently, safely. That's a big piece of that as well. We have fraud prevention components in there, such as positive pay, whether that's on the check side or on the ACH side. Fraud is a huge issue right now, and it's one that's ever evolving, and it's something that we try to be as proactive as we can, and positive pay is one of the ways that we reconcile that out. So, without getting too lost in all of the plethora of products we offer, it really boils down to keeping your money safe, making sure that it's working for you. You had mentioned rates earlier. This is a very volatile rate environment. This is something that we haven't experienced for some time now. And, the role of myself and you and our team is to make sure that we're developing the relationships with our customers to know exactly what their needs and what their wants are. Banking can be highly commoditized, but the way that we separate ourselves at Core Bank is through our relationship development and the people that we send out there to develop those relationships, which is inclusive of yourself.
Yeah. One other hot topic that you hear a lot about is FDIC insurance. And there's always unique things that draw attention in the media. And with Silicon Bank, they failed, but they didn't, right? Like everybody was pretty okay. But that really did draw attention that, again, in the volatile rate environment, things can happen. So we have a phenomenal program, and I want you to dig into this a little more, called IntraFi, and this gives us the ability to kind of offset that concern of the FDIC insurance.
Yeah, absolutely. So IntraFi is a partner that we work with that allows us to exceed that $250,000 threshold of FDIC or insurance on your deposits. And the way that we do that is we have a partnership of banks that we essentially are allowed to shed that risk of that exposure to other other financial institutions, and think about it as a group of banks that are working together to protect your money. That's really to sum it up. And we have the mechanisms and the processes and the procedures that every T is crossed and every I is dotted. But ultimately, what it allows our customers to do is, as opposed to spreading your accounts through multiple different banks and having to deal with multiple different bankers, you can come to Core Bank and we'll do all the hard work on the back end. You'll see your balances, you'll see your accounts with us, and you'll be able to access those funds and utilize those deposits in the way that you see fit with your relationship manager or with your banker that you're working with at Core Bank.
Just not having to have 22 checkbooks laying
yes,
around. Although not a lot of
absolutely.
people use checks like they used to.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, that's true. And another thing that we talk about is fees, right? A fee is just part of banking. When you get more into the business side, I know a lot of people, us included, have a free checking account. If you're just looking to deposit your payroll, your paycheck, and spend money, that's easy. But when it comes to doing these ACHs and all these products that Kyle's talking about, there are generally fees for it. We have the ability at Core to help offset them a little bit with just your natural deposit. It's called earning credits. You want to dig in a little more on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, this is a topic that hits home for a lot of small business owners as far as money going out the door, who, what, when, where, and why. And, what I want to speak to is that from a small business standpoint, the products and services that we're offering or that we're servicing are very complex. And there's a lot of inner workings. There's a lot of platforms. There's a lot of people that are involved in making these processes go and work. And so to do that, there's obviously a fee that's associated with that to help cover some of that cost. Now, Core Bank, we really try to utilize earnings credit rate, which is essentially a rate that's paid out on deposits that you hold with us to help offset those fees. And the great thing about this is this incentivizes our clients to make us their primary bank, if not their only bank. And so we will reward you with a earnings credit rate based on the dollars that you hold with us on deposit, and we can utilize that rate to offset the costs of these services or these complex services that allow you to run your business much more smoothly and allow us to do the hard part on the banking side of things.
See, we care. We care at all levels here at Core Bank for you and your business. I told you this was going to be a busy, heavy podcast.
Sentimental.
Very,
yes,
very
absolutely.
touching. Speaking of products, we have a new and exciting product that we have to offer. And I want to tee it up a little bit. When I hear escrow coming from mortgage, I think of the simple escrow with a title. Money goes in, money goes out. The title company is kind of in charge of that rigmarole. If you've ever done a mortgage and you didn't know that, all the money goes to a title company and then they kind of send it out to the agents, to the banks and all of that. But there are other companies that use an escrow service, such as property management, lawyers use an escrow service, 1031 exchanges. I know that's a little bank mumbo jumbo there, but if you're involved in this, you very much know how important this is. So after, I think, quite a bit of research, Core Bank decided to take on a new escrow service. So go ahead and dig into that one, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Without further ado, we have partnered with an excellent organization in Z Suite. Within their platform, they hold their Z Escrow or Z Rent platforms. And without getting into all the inner workings of how that goes, the long story short is it's a sub-accounting platform that allows our small businesses to allocate funding pools for its clientele to hold those deposits in a separate ledgered account without having to open up 5, 10, 15, 20 different accounts at Core Bank. So, for example, if you were a property manager, and you had a whole handful of 1 to 4 family units that you oversaw. For each one of those renters, they're going to place down a security deposit. And within that, and as opposed to having to fill out an Excel spreadsheet or, doing a manual process of the good old pen and paper, we can actually be able to subledger all of those funds for each one of those tenants utilizing only one bank account account with Core Bank. And that platform allows you to open, close, move money. And with each one of those subledger accounts, you're going to get statement reporting. You're going to have easy access. And it's just a great way to be able to manage multiple different functions of your deposit holdings without having to partition out your separate accounts. Also, for property managers, we get a lot of clients that open up an account for each property that they hold. So each independent address, and that's how they kind of account for that and track that, have a transaction history and get a statement. Well, as opposed to having 15, 20 accounts that you're having to manage, you can have one operating account with Core Bank that you utilize, and then we can actually subledger out those balances through a shadow account. So that way you can allocate those funds to each one of those properties. So you think about whenever signers need to be updated or whenever you need to open or close, you're having to reach out to your banker every time to do that. And it's a very manual process and tends to take time. And it's a lot of back and forth. You can do this from the convenience of your office with a few clicks of a button to be able to establish, close, manage, and oversee those accounts.
One of the biggest feedbacks I've gotten, because we've been able to bring on some customers that are currently using it and a lot of demos to those that are possibly in the fields that would use it. But the big one was auditing. And I was working with kind of a smaller based lawyer. He has his own business, his own firm, and so he's growing. But one thing he said is, gosh, if I was audited tomorrow, what I'm currently doing, it would be a nightmare. But with the Z Suite process, it would be cake, because you do have the monthly statements. You've got a paper trail of everywhere that this money is moving to. And my big takeaway is I don't have to call my banker and get all the reports, all the deposits, all the statements. They're literally right in your digital Z Suite account. You can pull the statement and print it for your tenant, as the property manager example. Or if you're a lawyer and you have a client that you're doing a retainer with, you have all of this at your fingertips and you could provide in seconds, where I'm sure we've all dealt with somebody that we need something from them and they have to contact their bank. And then a few days later, you follow up and say, hey, have you done this? And well, I'm still waiting to hear from the bank. And they say it's not Core Bank, just to be clear. And then boom, like 3 weeks later, you finally get it. This really empowers the business owner with the client to just instantly make these things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we've mentioned the property managers of the world, the attorneys of the world. One thing that we're finding in speaking with, our existing client base or even potential customers is this is a very diverse product in a lot of different industry verticals. We're dabbling in the nonprofit industries as well. So, it's a product that's really tailored to meet our customers' needs. Whereas most product offerings in the banking world, you have client or customer here, and they need to fit into product that exists over here. We can really work with our Z Suite partners to make sure that it moves and functions exactly how you see fit and how you want to utilize it, and it can assist in a plethora of different ways.
Now, we've talked a lot about the services, specifically, the products, I should say. Let's talk a little bit about our servicing team. You mentioned them before, right? We have RMs and we have our servicing team. So what are some other resources that Core Bank brings to the table as a treasury team? Yeah,
and I had hit on this a little bit earlier. Banking, again, very highly commoditized. Most banks are going to offer your RDCs, ACHs, your checking, your savings accounts of the world. I will tell you that Core Bank, and specifically to our treasury team, we pride ourselves on the relationship and the people that we have within that department. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention their names. We have Haley and Nicole that are two servicing specialists within our department, and they are, for lack of a better way of saying, our boots on the ground over the phone is what they are. Over the phone or via email, and they really pride themselves on delivering world-class service, being very readily available. The answer isn't always yes or I have that right away, but we will not be lacking for trying to seek out the answer or seek out the solution, or even being transparent as to the why behind things. The days of that's just the way it is are done, as far as I'm concerned. We're gonna push the envelope as far as making sure that we're doing right by our clients. And to reemphasize the point I made earlier, we want to make sure that banking is fitting our clients' needs, not our clients are fitting into our banking products or services. But those ladies are excellent, above board, years of banking experience, years of customer service experience, and absolutely the glue and the mortar to everything else that we do within the Treasury department.
And one other piece I want to touch on as far as services go, kind of unique, is when our healthcare space, because coming from the healthcare background, that was a big reason why the transition fit so well to Treasury, is we can bundle our healthcare products. So where we've listed so many products today, right?
Absolutely.
And where a lot of those, it is very much a la carte, individual based, what you need. A lot of healthcare practices right out of the chute use a lot of them. Your payroll opportunity, your collections, your ACHs, those are all things that are moving pieces of most practices. And what we uniquely do at Core is we bundle that to one flat fee. So if you have a practice where you are processing a lot of checks, and we've all sent a check in to one of our healthcare practices for whatever reason, we both have kids, we know how it goes. Those are the businesses that can utilize that flat fee because they're not going to get, and I don't like saying this, but nickeled and dimed on a lot of transactions that they're doing. We can just make it all one. And we do that because the healthcare space is so common for that, where your average plumber, probably not a lot of checks, especially a lot of people are using credit cards now. They just don't have that volume. So it makes more sense, those earning credits, to kind of offset that.
Yeah, and the healthcare industry is definitely unique. You see a lot of banks that are coming out with their healthcare platforms or programs, and there's a reason for that. That's a professional industry that obviously makes a lot of sacrifices in their day-to-day, and why would their bank not be willing to bend over backwards to take care of them as well? Again, fitting products to clients, not vice versa. So, and the great thing about that is even with that flat charge, we'll back that with a potential ECR aspect as well. So, convenience as far as knowing what you're getting charged and why, but also incentivizing you to bring your deposits to Core Bank, allow us to handle those for you and offset some of your costs as well. But Brandon, you're kind of our healthcare specialist in our Treasury department, and you're an excellent resource for that information. And again, building relationships and conveying, why we want to be out there and what's our purpose, and ultimately asking the question, where do you bank and how can we earn your business?
Mm-hmm. One thing we want to promote here is the golf tournament. This probably won't be the last time you're going to hear about this on these podcasts until we hit it, which is June 24th. We're going to benefit the Nebraska Diaper Bank, a little giving back opportunity. And I still think at this point, there are still a few sponsorships open. All the whole sponsorships are taken. I think dinner and maybe the beer cart and a couple other things are still open. So
priorities.
Priorities, right? So still an opportunity. If that is something that you are interested in, you can simply email coreexperience@corebank.com. Kyle, before we wrap this up, is there anything else you want to share?
Well, first, again, want to echo my comments earlier. Thank you, Brandon, for having me on. And thank you for all those that have taken an interest in this podcast and the content that we're providing. But, ultimately, we at Core Bank we're people. We care about people, and we care about, not only the products and services that we deliver, but the service that we offer behind that. And without people, this thing doesn't go, whether it's within our company or our customers themselves. But just very appreciative of the opportunity and appreciative of any opportunities that come ahead.
We put community in community banking.
There you go.
Like that?
There you go.
For more information on the Core Experience, you can always email us at coreexperience@corebank.com, or you can go to corebank.com/podcast. We are on the Core Bank YouTube page if you actually want to see what Kyle looks like, because I'm sure you already know what I look like. But then also, if you're just listening to this on any of the platforms out there, we appreciate your support. We always take reviews, likes, shares. Those are all great things, but at the end of the day, we appreciate you taking the time to learn a little bit more about Core Bank and what we have to offer and what we are doing. Kyle, thanks for thanking me for being on the podcast, but I want to thank you for taking time out.
Absolutely.
Moseying on over to the studio and giving us your insight and expertise. And for everybody else, we look forward to talking to you on a future podcast.
Thank you for listening to The Core Experience, your connection to community, business, and the people who make it all happen. For more details, go to corebank.com/podcast or email coreexperience@corebank.com. Brought to you by Core Bank, member FDIC.